Hey guys, so I recently came across a post in one of the CNA groups that I am a member of on Facebook, and I thought that it was something important to talk about and to share with you guys. So I'm going to read this person's post and then I'm going to share my thoughts with you guys. So this person said, I see so many people celebrating being a CNA for 10 plus years, and I have a serious question. How do y'all do this without feeling burnt out? I haven't even hit a year yet, and I am burned all the way out. I love my job and my residents, but I am worn out. So I definitely have to tell you that I was in that place. I want to say I started working at my very first CNA job in July of 2016. And by April of 2017, I was completely burned out. And I think part of that is my fault because I had a huge problem saying no. And part of it was the facility's fault because they shouldn't have been reliant on me for as much as they were. And I will explain that. So, as a brand new CNA, I had a lot of passion for healthcare and I had a lot of passion for the specific um, memory care type of setting. And that's what I was working in my very first CNA job. And so, like, basically, it got to the point with that job where I would not even be all the way up to the nurse's station yet because that facility was like 3 floors and the memory care units were on the second floor. Um, and I would not even be up to the nurse's station from the front entrance yet, and I would already be being asked to stay over, work a double. Um, they would call me on my days off to come in and cover shifts. They would call me to come in early, and me, like I said, having a problem saying no and feeling bad about like the fact that they were going to be short staffed and that my residents weren't going to be getting the level of care that they deserved. I would always say yes. And so it got to the point where I was working literally like 80 hours a week. Um, there were multiple weeks where for 5, 6 days, I would work 16-hour shifts. And it got to the point where I ended up in the hospital in ICU for 7 days after having a stroke because of all of the stress and not sleeping, not eating correctly, and just spending all my time at work. Like my life was basically work. And, you know, I think that a lot of new CNAs, um, at least when I was becoming a CNA, I don't know how it is now, but I feel like a lot of newer CNAs who get into it for the right reason, I should say, um, tend to take on a lot more than they should, especially as a new CNA. Some facilities are really good about making sure that you don't pick up extra hours for a certain period of time, just so that you can spend that time to get adjusted to your new role, especially if you're a brand new CNA right out of training. Um, like they are very good. There were certain facilities I worked at where if you were a new employee, regardless of how many years you had been a CNA, you were not allowed to pick up extra shifts for at least a month. And then after that month, you could pick up basically as much as you wanted, which still wasn't a good thing. But, I think a lot of people who get into this for the right reason, they tend to overdo it and overwork themselves and commit to too much because of the passion that they have for taking care of these people that you form a bond with and you get so close to, and they're like your second family. Um, I personally, physically, could not continue to do CNA work just because of all of the joint problems I had from working on the trach unit on night shift by myself, turning patients that, were completely like a total assist. And really, I should have had at least one other person in the room, possibly two on some nights, but the nurse that I worked with would never come help me. And so if I didn't turn them by myself or change them by myself, they wouldn't get changed. And there was like never anybody that I could pull from another unit to come help me, even just to change or even just to like have them stand on the other side of the bed so that when I turned them and changed them and did everything myself, even just having another body there, nobody would help me. And so I definitely understand the feeling of being burnt out. Like I said, it's so easy to get burned out. Um, even compassion fatigue. Like a lot of healthcare workers end up with compassion fatigue because you are caring for these people. You are providing such an intimate like level of care, especially as a CNA. But even just healthcare workers in general, we are interacting with these people in pretty intimate ways. I mean, even as a nurse, you know, if you're having to put in a catheter or, some nurses help change patients and residents and things like that, it is very intimate, the things that we do. Like, you wouldn't go into a store. If you were a cashier at a store, you wouldn't be interacting with people in such an intimate way, like changing someone's brief. You're seeing genitals and things like that, obviously, and that's a very intimate thing. So I don't know where I was going with that, but you get this compassion, excuse me, compassion fatigue from providing this level of care for all of your residents on a day-to-day basis. And after a while, that gets very exhausting. And I think if you don't follow through with an adequate, an adequate amount of self-care, you're doing a disservice to yourself, because in the end, it's going to put you on a track to where you're going to need somebody to take care of you, like I did. Um, like having a stroke, that was not anything like small. That was huge. I couldn't walk normally for months afterwards. I had to have um, physical therapy come into my home. I had to have someone help me do things. I had to have someone help me walk to the bathroom. I had to learn how to walk again because my foot, I couldn't lift it up off the floor. That's how weak my foot was. And there are videos on my channel about that whole process of recovering from my stroke. I have had one other stroke since then and multiple mini strokes since then. And it has been a very scary thing because I don't ever want to end up back in that situation. But I think, like I said, as a CNA, like this person, it hasn't even been a year yet, and she's feeling burned all the way out. And it's very hard, I think, especially like if you started being a CNA during the pandemic. I think that is like an awful time to start your CNA journey because everything was so short staffed. Every place, every facility, every hospital, nursing home, whatever the case may be, needed extra help, and there just weren't enough people to help. And so I think like becoming a CNA during the pandemic may have been the worst time as far as like burnout potential to get into that. So yeah, if you guys have any thoughts on this topic, please feel free to share your thoughts and opinions. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. If you have worked as a CNA, did you ever feel burned out? I definitely did. And, obviously ending up having a stroke because I was overworking myself and not taking care of myself properly is not something that I am proud of, and I would never go down that road again. Um, so yeah, share your thoughts. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, suggestions, feel free to share them with me. If you have any topics you'd like to hear me talk about, let me know that as well, and I would be glad to get something filmed for you. And with that being said, see you guys next time.